Have you ever opened your heart to someone, telling intimate details about your life, only to feel betrayed when that same information was leaked or manipulated against you? And have you ever experienced a sense of vulnerability after sharing your fears, desires, or weaknesses with someone, only to find that that same information was used to hurt or manipulate you? All of us, sooner or later, had happened to talk a little too much about ourselves, sometimes because we felt alone and needed to vent, other times because we blindly trusted people we considered friends. But intelligent people never reveal certain things about themselves because there are some topics that can ruin our personal growth, relationships with others, and our very existence. Thanks to the Zen story you are about to hear, you will discover the things you should never talk about with anyone. So stay until the end because, thanks to this information, you will know exactly how to preserve your inner peace. But before continuing, if you haven't already done so, subscribe to the channel and activate notifications to stay updated on new publications. Also, if you appreciate the video, please share it. You will help us produce many more. In an ancient Buddhist monastery hidden in the mountains of Japan, there lived an elderly and wise monk named Kosami, famous for his wisdom and his profound understanding of life. One evening, gathered around the fire, the disciples asked him why they had often heard him say that there are some things that we should never talk about with anyone. Kosami smiled sweetly and replied in a calm voice, "You see, my dears, the secrets of the soul are like precious flowers that bloom in the garden of our heart. Let us look after them carefully so that they can blossom in all their beauty without being trampled on by the words of others. The things that concern us or our fears are like dry leaves carried away by the wind of uncertainty. If we share them too freely, we risk seeing them blown away by the judgments and opinions of others, depriving us of the possibility of finding inner calm." One of the disciples, curious, asked, "Master, what are these things that we should jealously guard? Can you explain them to us in detail?" "My children," he began in a calm voice, "life is like a river flowing between rocks. There are deep creeks and quiet pools of water, and each hides treasures and mysteries of all kinds. Some of these wonders, as well as some of the darker parts of our being, are best kept in silence as they could be misunderstood or used against us. The first of these is fear," Kosami continued. "It's like a fog that envelops our mind, but if we share it too freely, we risk letting it grow until it obscures our path to inner serenity. Fear," Kosami continued, "is like a shadow that follows us wherever we go, ready to swallow us up if we allow it to get too big. It's like the darkness of night that surrounds us when we feel alone and lost. Imagine," he said, addressing his disciples, "that you are walking at night through a dense forest with only a dim lantern to guide you. Every moving shadow fills you with terror, and every noise makes you jump. That's when fear can devour you if you don't face it with courage." When we talk too freely about our fear, Kosami continued, we risk feeding it, making it grow like a fire that rages out of control. Talking about it can make it bigger than it really is until it becomes a monster that holds us prisoners in our own minds. "Fear is a natural part of life," Kosami said seriously, "but we must learn to manage it with wisdom and discernment. Holding fear in the silence of our hearts allows us to face it with calm and determination rather than letting it take over, upper hand, and consume us from the inside. Furthermore, others could use our fears for various purposes and interests. Therefore, talking about our fears makes us weaker in the face of possible bad intentions. Sexuality," Kosami continued, "is like a secret garden full of delicate flowers and seductive scents. It is an intimate aspect of our humanity that should be treated with respect and discretion. This is why it is another topic you should not talk about with nobody. Imagine, said Kosami, turning to one of his disciples, that you have a secret garden hidden behind high stone walls. It is a sacred place where flowers bloom in silence and beauty manifests itself without being disturbed by the eyes. Prying. This is how our sexuality should be, a treasure to be jealously guarded, without exposing it to the judgment or criticism of others. Remember that your sexuality, Kosami said, is a fragile flower blooming in the garden of intimacy. Talking about it too openly can expose us to shame, criticism from others, and possible blackmail. When we talk too freely about our sexuality, Kosami continued, we risk desecrating that garden, contaminating its purity with superficial and vulgar words. Talking about it can make our intimacy vulnerable to prying eyes, depriving us of its beauty and sacredness. Sexuality is a sacred part of our human experience, Kosami said seriously, and we should treat it with respect and reverence. Guarding it in the silence of our hearts allows us to preserve its sacredness, nourishing it with love and devotion. Desires and thoughts of revenge, Kosami continued, are another thing you shouldn't talk about with anyone. They are like chains that bind us to the past, preventing us from moving forward with ease and serenity. They are like burning embers that consume our hearts, poisoning our souls with anger and resentment. Also because, by revealing them to others, we ensure that they have weapons against us. Imagine, Kosami said, being hurt by someone you love deeply. It's like a poisoned arrow sticking into your heart, leaving a wound that burns and bleeds. That's when the desire for revenge can burn within you, consuming every thought and emotion. And it is at that moment that, if we talk about it with someone, we become in some way blackmailable. When we harbor the desire for vengeance in our hearts, Kosami continued, we bond even more to the one who hurt us, allowing his power over us to grow further. Talking about it can fuel our anger, turning it into an uncontrollable fire that destroys everything in its path. Remember that revenge does not bring peace. Kosami said firmly, it only brings more pain and suffering. Keeping the desire for revenge in the silence of our heart allows us to let go of the past and embrace the present with serenity and compassion. While the disciples listened with great pleasure and interest to the master's words, Kosami moved on to another thing that we should never talk about with anyone: traumatic experiences from the past. The traumatic experiences we have experienced, the monk said, are like deep wounds that leave invisible scars on the soul. They are like furious storms that shake us and slam us against the rocks of life. They are events that leave a profound mark on us, that leave vivid and painful memories, but that we would do well to keep hidden in the darkness of our hearts. Imagine, said Kosami, that you were involved in a terrible accident that left you with indelible scars. It's as if every time you close your eyes, you relive that horror, still feeling the cold of terror that passes through you, the soul. When we talk too freely about our traumatic experiences, Kosami continued, we risk reopening those wounds, making them bleed again without the possibility of healing. Talking about them can make our suffering even greater, depriving us of the possibility of finding inner peace. Traumatic experiences teach us many lessons, Kosami said wisely, but often those lessons are best learned in silence, through reflection and contemplation. Holding our traumatic experiences in the silence of our hearts allows us to heal and to move forward stronger and wiser than before. And we come to financial plans, Kosami continued, which are like seeds planted in the fertile soil of abundance. They are like trees that grow slowly, bearing fruit of security and prosperity. But just as seeds need to be protected from the fury of storms, our financial plans need to be guarded with wisdom and discretion. Imagine, Kosami said, that you have a treasure hidden beneath the soil, protected by deep roots and solid walls. It is a treasure that offers you security and peace of mind, but at the same time requires care and attention to thrive. When we talk too freely about our financial plans, Kosami continued, we risk attracting the envy and greed of others. Talking about it can make our treasure vulnerable to prying eyes, depriving us of the peace of mind and security that comes with us. Offers. Financial plans are like trees that need time and attention to grow. Kosami said wisely, and keeping them in the silence of our hearts allows us to protect them from the elements of life and nourish them with love and dedication. Future goals, the monk continued, are another thing not to be talked about. They are like dreams that push us beyond the boundaries of our existence, fueling our hope and determination. Imagine, Kosami said, that you have a map that shows you the path to your biggest dreams. It's a map full of promise and possibilities, but also challenges and obstacles to overcome. When we talk too freely about our goals for the future, he continued, we risk attracting the envy and negativity of others. Talking about them can make our dreams vulnerable to prying eyes, depriving us of the strength and determination needed to realize them. As the night enveloped the monastery with its cloak of silence, the disciples understood that silence and discretion can be powerful allies on the path to inner peace and personal fulfillment.